So I've got here a Desmos graph of an exponential, and all I want to do is have a little play around and notice some features about what's happening with this exponential graph. So first of all, just explain what the sliders are on the side. My graph is a, b to the x plus c, and a, b and c are going to be things I change around. So at the moment a is 1, b is 2, so it's basically b is 2 to the power of x plus nothing. And the green line that's drawn is the asymptote, which is y equals 0. Okay, you can see it on the screen there. One point that I know the graph goes through, I can see it and I can also work it out, is if I make x 0, because it's b to the power of 0, b becomes 1, a is also 1 and c is 0, so it goes through 1, 1. Let me just draw that in there. So there we are, there's what the point it goes through. Now I'm going to change that point in a minute. Let's get it right. 0, 1. Okay, so I'm going to change that point in a minute and see what happens. But first of all, let's just change c around. So c, if we can remember from our transformations, is just going to be a vertical translation. It's going to send it up and down. So if I make c 1, you can see that I've jumped up by 1 unit, and the asymptote is now at x equals or y equals 1. We can see it from here in the c part. So when I make c2, the asymptote jumps up, and you can also see what's happening to my intercept. When 0 goes in, this now becomes 4 when c is 3, because I've got b to the power of 0, which is 1, and then I'm adding on the c value. So that c value is just a horizontal translation, and it's just going to move it around up and down. So let's move it back to 0, and let's change the b value without changing the a value. So as we make b go from, say, 2 to 3 to 4, what happens to the graph is it gets steeper and steeper and steeper. Okay, and I'm going to do a negative in a minute. Let me just change this a value back to 1. And you can notice that if I change the b value around without changing the a and the c, that it's always going to go through 0, 1. Now what happens when it becomes a negative? It flips over and it now becomes a decreasing graph rather than increasing. So at the moment it's increasing, and then when it becomes a negative, it starts to decrease. Okay. I am not sure what's happened there to my graph, because b is minus 1, so let's make b 1, 2 again. Okay, now what happens with the a value is the a value will just multiply and just stretch it up. Okay, and that's probably the last one that I'm going to think about when I come to do my graphs. So this is basically the exponential graph. We've got the b value making it steeper. We've got the c value moving it up and down. We've got the a value, which is just performing another vertical stretch. We're going to have a look at some problems on the next graph, or some questions about how I can find a, b, and c with values I'm given for a graph.